stay tuned to local media and official media websites. One of the things that we've learned as emergency managers is the dissemination of rumors, the dissemination of information wastes a lot of our community's energy and time. We hear instances, hey, there's water distribution over here, and then there's no water distribution over there, right? And so it's important to rely on media websites, social media platforms, or official platforms of the cities to be able to get good information, because misinformation is something that we often combat during the recovery phase, post-storm recovery phases of what we do. Again, preparation is the key to becoming resilient. And so this press conference here is too short to cover essentially everything you need to do as a community to become prepared. So I encourage you guys to visit the FEMA.gov website. That'll walk you through everything. It will give you item by item to prepare before and how the recovery processes work. It's an excellent website, and I ask that you guys visit that website and as part of your recovery plan, as part of your creating a recovery portfolio. And then, like I said, stay tuned to those social media platforms and those news outlets to get information during the recovery phases. That's when water distribution sites, that's when, food pantries, that's when all that information is going to be disseminated during the recovery phase, because as stipulated earlier, water systems go down, sanitation systems go down, and the cities are tasked with the recovery processes, and we communicate that through various media platforms. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you for mentioning about misinformation, because I think that is something that we all struggle with. So key today, if there's any takeaway, tune into reliable, valid sources. Safety is also key during severe weather. To bring us up to speed on that, please welcome our last speaker, Fire Chief Omar Garza.
Thank you, Roxanne. I appreciate that. The one thing we get away from today is being prepared. Being prepared, being prepared, being prepared. This year, according to our weather experts, should be one of the worst years on record, so we need to be prepared. And I want to thank the mayor for having this press conference and letting the public know that they need to start getting ready and start getting prepared. Get those emergency kits ready, because this will be the year. And don't be, well, I'll do it next year, nothing's going to happen. We need to be prepared. And as first responders, public safety officers, we may not be able to get to your call right away. You might be on a list in the event of emergency. We might have 30 or 40 calls pending. So you need to be prepared. You need to have your family prepared for an event. One thing also is generators. If you're going to have a generator in your house, please be safe about it. In 2020 Hurricane Hannah, we had a family that passed away due to improper use of a generator. So if you're going to use the generator, please follow the manufacturer recommendations. Place the generator at least 20 feet away from your home. Make sure you don't back plug it into your home, where people tended to rewire it and plug it back into the house. Never do that. Always try to keep it in a dry area. And always, one of the things about generators, they produce carbon monoxide, which is a poisonous, odorless gas. So make sure we have a... That's not a hurricane, okay? That may sound like a hurricane, but it isn't. But make sure make sure that the generator is far away from home. Make sure you have a proper extension cord that's required for that generator. And right now is the time to check that generator. You don't want to pull that generator out of the storage, the day before the storm and crank it on, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And usually when that happens, they don't run efficiently, so they're producing a lot more carbon monoxide. So right now is the time to get prepared, check those generators, make sure they're operating safely. And right now, if you're looking to buy one, probably be a good idea to start getting one right now, because when the storm comes, it's pretty hard to get a generator. So be prepared, have your generator, make sure it's working properly, and make sure you have it in a safe place. Avoid using it during when it's raining. Make sure it's covered, and make sure, like I said, make sure it's away from your home. Also, during time of emergencies, we have heavy storms, heavy rainstorms, even like what's happening in Houston right now in Dallas, it's not even a hurricane, it's just a rainstorm. We tend to have a lot of flooding. If you don't have to be on the road, please stay home, right? Stay off the roads. Let the emergency crews do what they got to do. Stay at your house. If you come into a low area where there's high water, please turn around. 12 inches of water can cause your car to float away, and all the damage that's causing your car also. So if you can, just stay at home, and if you come to an area, please turn around and don't drown, right? Also, what happens when people are driving on the road, that water seems to push back into the homes, causing more damage into the homes in those flooded areas. So if you don't have to be on the road, please stay off the road. So once again, please be prepared. Have your toolkit, have your food supplies, have those generators tested, have a place to go in case you need to be evacuated, have some extra cash. But please be prepared. That makes our jobs much easier when the city and the citizens are prepared, and we know that you guys can kind of fend for yourselves until we're able to get out there. Because there might be, due to the storm, we may not be able to get out there as soon as we can, right? So, I mean, we got to kind of wait a little bit, and then we'll be able to deploy. So we really want to make sure, like Mayor Garza, and I know he's really key about having these press conferences.
And now, a workshop of the McAllen City Commission. All workshops are open to the public in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. These workshops allow for detailed staff presentations.
And good evening, actually good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's workshop. The first item is, do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions?
No questions over here.
Meeting? No questions. If not, we'll go to item number 2, 108 Loan Guarantee Program. Julia.
I think this works. Okay. Good evening. So my name is Julia Lash, and I am the Director of the Grant Administration Department, and I'm going to discuss the Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program with you briefly. So the Grant Administration Department was tasked to explore funding opportunities for the relocation and construction of Fire Station Number 4. While researching opportunities, we identified this Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program. This program is authorized under the Section 108 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as the loan guarantee component of the Community Development Block Grant. So it's also having its 50th anniversary this current year. So it's a very well-established program. This program allows local governments to leverage portions of their CDBG funds into federally guaranteed loans large enough to pursue physical and economic revitalization projects capable of redeveloping entire neighborhoods. Such public investment is often needed to inspire confidence in private firms and individuals need to invest in distressed areas. So eligible applicants, we're an eligible applicant because we're a CDBG entitlement community or a HUD recipient, and so we are eligible in that respect. Just last year, HUD issued over $10 billion of loan guarantee programs or loans throughout the entire nation for economic and community development projects. I don't know why it's glitching. So some of the programmatic requirements, it does require for us to meet some of the same requirements that the CDBG program has. So it does have to meet one of its 3 national objectives. It does need to meet one of these eligible activities, which we have construction, reconstruction, or installation of public facilities. And it also does have to follow through with the environmental assessment components, Davis-Bacon, BABA, Section 3, all the requirements that are set forth within a federal program. As far as the financial requirements, so we can borrow up to 5 times our current allocation, which is $8 million. We are required to secure the loan by pledging our current CDBG current and future allocations. So it would be repaid through our CDBG program. It would not necessarily come from the city's coffers. What other requirements there are that we need to have an additional security, meaning collateral, and in this particular case, since we will be purchasing land, we could use the property lien as an additional collateral. There are no prepayment penalties. The loan will be anywhere from 10 to 20 years. And like I said, it could be repaid with CDBG funds.
Okay, excuse me for just a second. Okay, when you mentioned the $8 million, capacity, is this aside from CDBG funds that we get on a yearly basis?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
Repaid by those.
It would be repaid using CDBG funds, but it is additional, an
We could get a
additional $8 million.
one-time upfront distribution of $8 million to fund it, and then we would make the loan payments through CDBG funds that would come to us over the next 10 to 20 years.
But what happens to, for example, what we fund already? We'd
Well,
have to reduce a certain
By the
amount
loan
up to.
payment amount, yes. So it wouldn't be all of your CDBG funding, but just whatever your payment of your
Your debt
loan would
service.
work out to be. Your
Yeah.
debt service, exactly.
okay, so if it's $3 million, it's $3 million that we get, and we have to pay $500,000 worth of it, into whatever debt we get. So you would subtract the 500,000 from the 3 million.
You could pay it out of the CDBG allocation.
When you say you could, okay, I'm saying, is
don't
it
have to.
mandatory for us, is it in that allotment that we get?
Yes.
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 Okay, so that we would have
A
five,
reduction.
whatever it is, $500,000, if I make that example, reduction in what we could give out to whatever we're funding today from the CDBG funds.
Yes, on an annual basis. We
It'll
would-
be very beneficial to the city, but for wherever we give it, we're gonna have to taper down a little bit for everybody.
The loan would have to be paid back within the same or the next fiscal year?
No, up to 10, 20 years.
Oh, so then, so it's not 500,000, you break that up
You
over
break it up.
20 years, and that's the amount you take on an
Yes.
annual basis.
Depends on the loan amount. If
Right.
it's a large
Yeah, I
amount.
just
it'll
said
be-
a loan amount,
Okay.
whatever it is.
But it's not like you're taking a lump sum of 500,000 out.
And we currently fund construction projects, drainage projects, parks projects, things of that nature. So it would maybe offset one of those and enable to build the fire station without
Is
having
it 0% interest?
It is, HUD offers long-term fixed-rate financing at AAA rates.
So it's not 0%?
No. There is also a loan guarantee fee. It's 1.64% of the principal amount. However, that could be rolled into the loan. And so that would also be repaid with the CDBG funds.
So what's the advantage to using this program?
The advantage is that, so on an annual basis with CDBG funds, we do have to meet a certain expenditure requirement. And so this would also help us get there on an annual basis.
What does that mean, expenditure?
the 1.5 ratio that we have to meet every August that we haven't been meeting.
Oh.
So it's a timeliness issue.
It's
So
a
this would
timeliness.
help us spend a lot quicker. Plus, it
Well,
wouldn't come
I mean,
out of
shouldn't
the
our
sales tax.
agencies be helping us with that?
The
versus
agencies,
our debt ser-
they do help, Commissioner, but we can only award 15% of the grant to public services. There's 20% that is used for administration costs, and then the remaining amount will be for capital improvement and economic development projects.
And let's not forget, we're getting $4 million of federal funds for free. Okay,
Yes, because
so-
it's paying itself back,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, it's
I
paying
mean-
itself back, so if you go with 20 years and you're looking at those kinds of interest rate, you might be looking at $220,000 a year. That's the amount of reduction that you're gonna see in your
Right.
CDBG programming. But let's not lose sight that we're gonna get $4 million that you're not taking from your taxpayer.
Yes.
Correct.
And paying it back over 20 years
I just want to make,
With their money.
get clear.
with their money.
I just want to be clear about that.
You get the loan through this program, but realistically, they're really paying themselves back through our annual disbursements.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Okay, sold.
And so this came about, obviously, we're building station number 8, right? And we're about to finish station number 8. And at some point in the future, the TERS of Tres Lagos is gonna pay us back. Remember, we advanced that station.
Right.
We weren't programmed to build it for another 5 or 8 or 10 years, who knows? But we had the money, so we went ahead and did it. At some point, you're gonna get that money back. And one of the things that we're struggling with at the airport is that we have Station 4 and the ARF station together. They're very old, they're inefficient, and at some point soon, we think that we can get the ARF funding for the airport funded through FAA, right? So now the ARF, we will build on the airport through federal funds. I think, I want to say it's 90-10, 10% local, which would be PFC anyway. And so then it gives you an opportunity to separate the two, and that's where this comes in.
Good.
Is that we would be able to fund Station 4 and ARF with federal funds.
Where's Station 4 going again?
We are, I think we already made an offer to buy the property. The city commission approved that a couple months ago.
Okay.
And approved the funding at the mid-year budget.
Okay.
So we're making an offer on property as we speak.
What's the projected cost for Fire Station 4?
Probably about $4 million.
And what, number 8 was about to say?
Same.
Like the mayor said, sold.
No,
That's how this came about.
no, little cities do that all the time, except
Yeah.
for funding is. Okay, any other questions?
I'm sorry, what was that interest rate again?
It's like market rate.
Yes,
market.
it's market rate.
Maybe like 7 or 8.
The triple A.
But
So we can borrow up to 5 times our allocation, but that doesn't necessarily mean
You have to.
we request the full amount. We can, but the maximum amount that we would be eligible for would be the $8 million. And typical repayment plans are 10 to 20 years, but we could request a longer term if we wanted to. So the HUD is very flexible. They work with us from the very beginning to the very end. The only thing that, as I mentioned earlier during the presentation, is that it does have some of the same HUD requirements. So we would need to, before we start the application process, we would need to do a pre-application where we require to do 30-day comment periods and public hearings, and that's basically it.
Sold.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have item number 3, return compensation study.
Right. So while they're getting situated, Mayor and Commissioners, this is something that we had proposed to put in the coming budget. You were going to hear about this during our August budget hearings. However, we're again seeing the creeping up of turnover with the City of McAllen. And what you're going to hear today is we're asking that you consider moving this forward by a few months. Instead of just making a decision in August, waiting until October, and then hiring a consultant, we're getting behind again. And we think that we could advance this and help us by several months. And by maybe this time next year, we'll be looking at what we need to do to catch up again. What we told you many years ago, it wasn't that many, 2 or 3, is that we would probably be doing this every 5 years. And we think that 5 years is too long right now. So I don't know how much thunder I took from them, but now that you're situated, that's why we're here.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Cristina Flores, Director of Human Resources. So I'd like to discuss the proposed classification and compensation study. So in accordance with our 7-year plan, we are scheduled to begin the study this coming fiscal year 24-25 and then implemented in year 25-26. I did request funds in this coming budget cycle for 24-25. However, in order to stay on track with timeline, as City Manager mentioned, we want to move up a little bit of that process and get started as soon as possible. And I'll show you in a timeline why, but I would like to go out for requests for proposals with your authorization and select the company that would do this study. And so if we can start that process now, then it'll save us some time, and it'll also help us to have those cost figures available in the early budget for fiscal year 25-26. So this is kind of a general timeline, an estimated timeline of what the project will take, approximately 230 days. And so what I'm requesting is to start the request for proposals
So this
process.
is just pretty much to speed up something we were gonna do some months later.
Correct. We just want to buy us some time so that we have the results in time for the following budget cycle.
I got a question.
Yes.
Can any of the survey or research be done internally? I mean, is it something that we already do, or at least part of, in our just analysis of postings and jobs that take a little longer to fill, and what kind of information are we requesting that we already do?
Well, so right now, we do it on an ad hoc basis. So if there's a one-off position that we need information for, we'll reach out to like the HR consortium to request kind of what they're paying for that particular position. But it's not always apples to apples because the budget for that city is different, the duties are different. And so what this company does is try to compare more apples to apples. And also there's a science to building the pay plan itself. And so that's what we want to make sure that we have something that's going to last us for several years and help us to stay competitive.
What was the cost again for this?
So the last time that we went for this, we got bids ranging from close to 85,000 all the way up to 250,000. And I have requested 130,000 for this coming fiscal year. And so right now what we would be doing is going out for proposals. So that's the only part that we're doing right now is to get started on that process.
What's the benefit of accelerating?
So we would, instead of
Because I don't see how if you get a recommendation in January, February of 2025, you're not going to be able to implement it until the following, or that same October, right?
So we're looking to implement in fiscal year 25-26. And so we would buy ourselves about 2 months or so because of the request for proposal process, the advertising, the scoring, making a selection and getting that approval. So we want to get that part over with so that we can actually start either right at October 1st or close to October 1st so we can start the actual study. Right now, we're trying to go out and select the company that's going to do that.
No, I understand, but the recommendation doesn't complete, or at least based on your timeline, till February 2025.
Right, so typically we start our process about February, and so if we have something in March, that's still early on enough in that budget process to be able to.
So you want to be able to have a recommendation not during the normal period of time you start budget, which is April, May, and June?
Right,
Okay, you want to have it before?
yes.
Got it.
Right, and additionally, Commissioner, as you know, every year we have a mid-year budget review,
Right.
right? And we adjust revenues and expenses. And so you'll have an opportunity to decide whether you want to do this in 2 chunks,
I see.
right? You're going to
Split
have
it
a
up.
recommendation from the consultant and the staff, and you'll decide, first of all, do you want to do it? To what extent you want to do it, and how, what kind of timeline you want to use to do it. And one of the advantages that you'll have, if we can finish it by then, is that you can consider it at mid-year and do some, and then do the second part of the implementation October the 1st.
Oh, I see.
Because we don't do the mid-year budget review till May.
Right.
So February, you'll have those
Some
3
info.
months for that recommendation to come to you.
Understood. Sounds like a plan.
Well, you're gonna put it on procurement too, so, and put it
Right.
out,
Right, we'll have to go through the whole
the
process.
whole
of-
process,
yeah.
and then we'll decide, do we do it all, we do some of it, we do.
Right.
At that
absolutely,
time.
Yeah,
Correct.
and it will not impact the fiscal year's
The
budget
fiscal.
that you're about to look at, okay? But it gains us 3 months, and in this business, 3 months is a long time.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Any other questions? We do have a
And so the request is
30,000, 130. That would be the timeline, and then any questions? I do have there is an agenda item for the regular agenda meeting for an action item.
And as you know, we start the budget process in April. We had this discussion first week of June. We went through all of the departments. This is one of the requests, and we really thought that we should advance this because of the turnover. And we don't have that data here. We could certainly bring it, but the turnover is again creeping up, and we've done so much that we think that this will get us, a great tool to use next fiscal year.
We've been in the low teens, right? 11 to 15%?
We got to the low teens, we're back up to the high teens.
Oh, really? Didn't realize that.
Maybe people need better work ethic.
Are we doing a study on why they're leaving? I mean,
Yes, that we do for every.
they do that
exiting
internally,
employee.
right?
I'm sorry?
We do that internally?
Yes, sir, we do that. That is something that we do for every employee that exits. And not all of them are willing to do it, but I would say 9 out of 10 would do.
It's pretty good.
That would tell us a lot.
Yeah.
Well, during our budget period,
We can
we can
certainly
look at it,
all that.
please.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Number 4, Vision Zero.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commission. Marlene Garza with the Traffic Operations Department. The last time I came before you regarding Vision Zero was back in February of this year. When I came to discuss Vision Zero as an introduction to Vision Zero, what it's about, and the timeline for this plan. Just to reiterate what Vision Zero is it's a plan rooted in the belief that no loss of life or serious injury is acceptable on McAllen's transportation system. So this plan will help McAllen identify locations where we need to go in there and make improvements, different types of improvements. And I'll go through the data so you can kind of get an idea of what that's going to be looking like. We have a website dedicated to this plan where we have all the information regarding everything that's going on with the plan and the latest information. Our Vision Zero plan is a part of a Vision Zero network which many cities across the country have implemented successfully. This is a timeline of what we have for Vision Zero. Currently, we're about a month away from adopting the plan. We're in July, and what happens in July is that we release our public draft of the document. And so, hopefully in a month from now, we'll be adopting this plan. A little snapshot of what you're going to be seeing in the plan is that there was a total of 39,449 crashes in the city of McAllen between 2018 and 2023. The breakdown of those crashes are on the screen in the table seen above. Of those 39,000 crashes, 318 were fatal or severe injury. Of those 318 fatal or severe injury crashes, you'll see the breakdown of where they came from. 43 were pedestrian, 9 were on a bike, 218 were in a motor vehicle, 47 on a motorcycle, and there was one by freight. That was a truck, could be an 18-wheeler delivery truck. A little bit about the data that was collected. The first graph will show the 318 figure broken down. One of the things that we gathered from this data was that as speed limit increase, you're talking arterial roadways, major collectors, that as speeds increase, the severity of the crashes were deadlier, right? People are going faster, it's harder to brake. If a vehicle at a fast speed hits a pedestrian, the likelihood of that pedestrian surviving that crash is very low. So this is one of the tables that is in the plan. Well, the graph shows a breakdown unique to the city of McAllen. The image on your right, it just shows the impact of speed as you as people drive faster, the likelihood of them surviving is less, and the chance of them dying increases. Yet, that bullet point kind of just highlights the impact of speed, that a majority of our fatal and severe injury crashes come from high speed limits. Why? Because the faster they're going, the more severe the crash. That's what that bullet point outlines. This is also another graph that shows where who was involved in the crashes here in McAllen. The bar graph shows the age group of the people involved in the fatal and severe injury crashes, and then the line graph with the bar graph combination, it just shows a snapshot of this. Wait, I don't remember. I think it might be this one. Well, I'll move on. When do FSI crashes, fatal or severe injury crashes, occur? Half or a little bit more than half happen between 3 and 9 p.m. in addition to 12 and 3 a.m., which is around the time that, bars close, or, during rush hour. Another thing that will be seen in the plan, there is a high injury network, or HIN. The network, what it's going to show is it's going to show a breakdown of the crashes within our roadways in City of McAllen. And there will be a map just for motor vehicles, another map just for bicyclists, another map for pedestrian, and another map for motorcycle. The one that you see on the screen is a combination of all the maps. I try to condense the information as much as I can so that there'll be time available for questions. The breakdown too on the prioritization of these maps is shown on the screen. If there was one crash or more, we wanted to highlight the importance of that intersection or the corridor. And so these maps are going to be really important moving forward, especially during the planning phase when we start looking at applying for grants, working with TxDOT. So we'll be able to identify, 10th Street, 23rd Street, what roads are the ones that we're going to be sitting down and trying to coordinate with TxDOT on. Common crashes in McAllen, there's a total of 8 that we counted. There's different ones. I'll go ahead and go through those. You'll see that some are left turns, people running red lights. So the first one, I believe, is running a red light, disregarding the red light, and so that is a motor vehicle to motor vehicle. The second one is a left turn and a person making a right turn, motor vehicle to motor vehicle. The third one is a pedestrian crossing in the middle of the street. An example of the last one that you'll see on our plan is the area on Bicentennial between Hackberry and Business 83. The closest and safest area for pedestrians to cross is the Business 83 intersection or the Hackberry intersection. So if you're a pedestrian, you're in a hurry, you want to get across to the other side to get to your destination, you're probably going to take that risk and cross in the middle of the street, even though you're not protected, but you're crossing 6 lanes of traffic, and so they're not protected. And so we're seeing this in the data. And, in the future, hopefully we'll be able to use this to plan to, make recommendations as engineers and hopefully get support from the public.
Bicycles there too.
Bicycles, yes, lots of bicycles in that area. Other ones that we saw, I'll go over the first one, which is a pedestrian getting hit by a motor vehicle. When I saw this image, it reminded me of one intersection that we're trying to figure out on how we can protect those pedestrians. The intersection that I'm speaking about is 15th Street and Business 83, right by what used to be the bus terminal, or, now it got moved, but this is the area where people would cross the street and would get hit by that left turner because they couldn't see them or because they were, running across, or whatever the case might be. But just to kind of give you an idea, that's one of the types of crashes. Another one that is not necessarily reflected on the image is a car failing to yield the right-of-way and hitting a pedestrian or a bicyclist. The next one is a crash at an intersection with a signal light where the car was turning right and failed to yield the right-of-way. An example of this could be like at 29th and Business 83 where there's a bike lane going north, and the person making a right turn has to make sure that they are aware if a bicyclist is going north so that they don't run into them.
Let me tell you, there, what you had mentioned where our bus stop is, and north of Business 83, because there's new commercial establishments there that are frequent, they're dollar stores that are there, that are frequent bus shoppers. I mean, people who uses the bus coming from Mexico, they go to those establishments, and it is very dangerous walking across that street right there. Those 2 blocks right there.
Yes, 16th and 15th Street?
Yep, 16th and 15th.
Yes.
So I don't know what you can possibly do in the meantime.
Well, right now that we are in the draft phase, and you'll see from the maps that the consultant has been able to put together, we're looking for input from the community as far as what they believe would be the most beneficial. We as engineers can only recommend so much, but the residents and the people that use the bus or the people that ride the bikes, we're looking to get input from them so that we can make sure we cover everything and we're not missing something that the police report didn't catch, things like that. So this is one of the reasons why we're here. We really want to get input from the community during this phase where we're under a public review of the document. And the next, and the last two are the crashes at an intersection at an angle with a motorcycle. The next one is crashes at a driveway access at an angle with a motorcycle and a vehicle with one going straight and one turning left. So this last one, it doesn't necessarily have to be a pedestrian, but it could also be motor vehicle to motor vehicle. When I saw this image, this reminded me of 10th Street between Trenton and Robin Avenue. There's lots of driveways in that area, lots of people wanting to make left turns, whether that be to get from one commercial area to another. And so, this was a very common type of crash. Priority high injury network intersections and corridors. So through the data that the consultant gathered, they looked at all the police reports and they broke them down and they highlighted what corridors are most important where these crashes are happening. What intersections are also the intersections that we as a city need to focus on. The table above shows the criteria that was used to be able to put together this set of 2 tables. One strictly corridors, and the next table is strictly intersections. This will be a table that is really important moving forward because I know that some people will ask themselves, well, why is this intersection prioritized higher than another intersection? And the plan goes in detail under priority intersections and corridors countermeasures. It identifies what is going on at that intersection, how many crashes are occurring, and what are things that the city of McAllen could do to improve that intersection or that corridor. There's a total of 11 areas highlighted in this plan. And again, countermeasures are included in the plan. Another item that you will see in the plan is actions toward Vision Zero goals, or big moves, as the plan calls them. There's, I want to say, about 11 bullet points, and it just ranges from trying to establish a safe routes to school program, considering reducing posted speed limits on certain areas, possibly in school zones, things like that. Revising street design guidelines to prioritize pedestrians or vulnerable road users, as we call them. The list goes on and on. Again, these items will be in the plan. I don't want to take any time away from questions that you might have. So I'll go to the last set of documents on the plan, which will be, these items will be supplemental to the plan. We wanted to make sure that when we published the plan, the plan had enough information and was short enough to read, but also had, the information that was in there was quality information. But we do have supplemental documentation that we will have as part of this plan, which is the monitoring and progress report and the Safe Streets for All checklist, and then also the McAllen Vision Zero survey. So during the month of March, we were out doing community outreach in a lot of your districts in an effort to try to get residents to fill out the roadway safety survey. And through that survey, we gathered a lot of really important information regarding, who are our users, what type of transportation are they taking, whether they use bike or whether they walk, whether they're here shopping, whether they're here for work, whether they're here for school. And so all that information gathered from that survey will be in the appendix document. It's not included in the main plan, just to make the plan easier to read and less overwhelming, but nonetheless, we do have that information readily available. And now I'll entertain any questions. I know that was a lot of information, but the plan will be available this week for public review. One of the things that we want to do is to have it available on the website for people to download and read. And then we'll also have them at public locations, the 3 community centers, the development center, as well as the public library, where we'll have a comment box where people will be able to fill out the comment card that has their name, phone number, and any comment they might have on the plan if they don't have access to a computer. So we'll be doing that in an effort to try to get the word out.
Are we going to have let's just say some type of report quarterly or so of the response that we're getting, and then first the response we're getting from the community, and second with the response that we're giving back to the community?
Yeah, so one of the items that the plan outlines is setting up a committee regarding Vision Zero, and having this committee, sit down and talk about, what areas are we prioritizing of these areas that we are prioritizing because they're being funded or they're being constructed. How are we going about taking care of these items? And hopefully we'll be able to post that on the website and be able to provide residents those updates.
Is this a staff committee, or is this a quasi?
Right now, since
committee?
we're in the draft plan phase, we are seeking input from the community as well as reviewing it at the staff level. We do have a traffic commission board composed of about 14 members that we are considering, kind of combining that, because a lot of the information we cover in that board does regard, major intersections that are problematic, any fatalities, all that information we get from McAllen PD that they share it with us. And so hopefully through that board, we will be able to take initiative and hold ourselves accountable, or we could consider maybe having a separate committee, but we will not, so to speak, finalize that until the final draft is complete, and we bring it to you in August as an action item or as a resolution. It's going to be.
Because one of the things that, it's interesting, of course, the routes, the safe routes, establish the safe routes to school, and the designing of the guidelines, for the streets, but also, I guess, the education part of re-educating our citizens about being cautious, about not speeding, about being alert of your surroundings, where you can have people that you don't see in your mirrors, or maybe look, so you know what's coming, who's going. So it's just kind of like a re-education to them, and it's a cultural kind of thing in civic thing.
Once McAllen chants go out, this kind of complements that too.
Yeah.
I think
so, too.
everything is,
Yes?
so.
Yes, and
Is your August timeline a self-imposed deadline? Or does it have to do with consultant or funding?
A little bit of
Because
both. There
that's
is,
like tomorrow.
yeah,
Yes.
a little bit of both. There is a grant that comes out in October that this would need to be in place or at least.
Well, we get it in place.
yes, and if we were to bring it to you all in August, it would be the second meeting in August, so the last meeting in August. And we
when
are.
do you have to have this final report in order to be eligible for the grant?
It'd be best to have it in place by that deadline that Marlene gave, so that we could apply, we would be eligible for that. The last time we applied, we were denied because we didn't have the plan in place. We had some potential projects that we were seeking through that funding source, and that's why we put this deadline. I think one thing to remember, Roy, want to thank Marlene and her team putting this project together. And then we've opened this up to management. Management was very open. This is a hard study to put together because you're kind of telling the public, here are problem areas. And so Marlene and her staff went and did that. Management, Roy, and the ACMs allowed us to do this. But in addition to that, I think the commission and the commissioners were at all the pop-ups that we've already done with the community. So we've actually done a lot of the upfront feedback from the community and put that in a document. So we don't think there's too much time needed to kind of get feedback. I mean, we receive feedback, now we put that in a document. It's more fine tuning at this point before we execute that out. Just kind of wanted to put that there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm raising these questions because you got 3 meetings from now to the 26th of August. And so I want to make sure that the city commission has an opportunity to see it after the traffic committee and all that. Because all of these things sound great, but I see a few of them that philosophically I don't agree with. So we have to be real careful about what that report says before we
Well,
finalize.
as soon as we can, because I agree with you on some of those things. I think everything, like I'll tell you right now, reduce posted speed limits citywide, that would kill us.
Yeah.
People would kill us.
I think the phrasing may be, and I saw that, I mean, we've seen it, but that's what they put together is strategically look at speed limits.
Now,
I think that may be the
enforcing
phrasing
speed
we need
limits
to put on that.
citywide, maybe, because we get so many complaints on 29th, on Ware, on Bicentennial, but we have a problem with getting from one place to another already. Not a big problem, but, I guess in some places, but citywide just sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe what we need to look at is, if 26 is the hard deadline, then we need to probably look at a workshop, even a special meeting, if we have to give them another opportunity to look at this whole thing.
Well, at least in the Friday packet, get it, for us to get it, so we can review it
But
and
you
be
know what I would be
ready.
concerned with that, Tony, is that if the media gets that, and so if they put something out that you haven't voted on, then we lose control of that.
Correct.
I really want you to be
But
able to give
I
a-
do want, I know that we did get a lot of public participation, a couple of months back in it. And, some of this has come out of that. So yes, we will see that, we will see and prioritize what we need to, I guess, give more attention to, and then do it all if possible.
Another thing that I wanted to add is this plan is going to really help us sit down at the table with TxDOT. I want to say at least half of the streets on the corridors and on the intersection side are TxDOT streets. You're talking 23rd Street, 10th Street. Business 83 is a really big one. And so, moving forward, that'll help us get that conversation started and see how they can help us to reduce the cost and workload on us, or see how we can prioritize those projects.
Any other questions?
More
I have a
medians.
question.
More what?
Medians.
More median. Marlene, I was looking at this list here.
I don't know, we had talked about it, but on Ware Road, South Ware Road,
Yes.
from Idela
Newhouse.
Street all the way to Augusta. Remember that little corridor right there? We have nothing for the people that are crossing. We had to go all the way to Idela Street. And remember, we got Brown, the kids from Brown,
Yep.
students, they have to walk on the other side of this, on the golf course side.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a sidewalk on
That's
on the west
definitely
side.
a problem area.
And it's been, well, there's been a couple of fatalities there.
Yes.
So maybe we can look that too, just.
Yeah, so another one of the things that the plan and a consultant make recommendations on is mid-block crosswalks, which is not something that we want to see, from the city standpoint, but if people are already losing their lives, maybe we can rethink that and get with, our legal department to see how we can, design and structure those crosswalks to be a little bit safer.
A little bit, yes, a little
And
bit.
so like Ware Road there between Idela and
Yes.
Augusta, that's
Go ahead.
TxDOT. So TxDOT has implemented Vision Zero Texas. And so, this plan's just kind of add to what other cities and the state is already doing. So that's what we're hoping, that this is going to help us push a lot of the projects that we want to get constructed.
We could definitely get better.
Yes.
Thank you so much. There being no further questions, we'll recess into executive session.
This concludes the workshop of the McAllen City Commission. Workshops are held every second and fourth Monday of the month, convening at 4 p.m. at the McAllen City Commission chamber on the third floor at McAllen City Hall.